my god! My partner and I had been travelling around Armenia and we noticed two little fluffy figures on the road. As soon as I got out of the van and I started calling them, they came running over.
So fluffy. Oh, look at them.
I would imagine they'd been there for several days, judging by how hungry they were.
That is the cutest thing.
We were concerned for them being out here in the middle of nowhere in such a cold mountain area.
Oh, it's just nuzzling.
We decided to leave them by the roadside for about half an hour just to make sure that their mum wasn't going to come along. But judging by their condition, we were pretty confident that their mother was no longer around. Bowie and his brother were abandoned in the middle of nowhere. I've never helped such tiny animals. But we always knew we would not be able to leave them there. Because there were barely any cars passing by and temperatures dropped below freezing at night. We put the puppies in a box and took them in the van, and then it was just like, what do we do now? Just like that, our van adventure turned into a rescue mission.
It's not food.
We're hoping we can find these guys a loving home. We're just posting around on Facebook, just seeing if we could find someone to adopt them, basically.
The puppies were really calm. All they wanted was cuddles and food to be warm. The next day, we'd been recommended a medical centre. So we were able to get them some dog food there, get them their first vaccinations. But we still had nowhere to take them. So we ended up camping with them for another night. In the morning, I went to check on them and they just stretched their little paws out and held my hand and licked. And it was just the sweetest moment where I knew I had to do everything I could to help them. But we just knew we couldn't keep hold of them living in the van with us. The idea was that the shelter would look after them, meanwhile we would look for someone in the UK that could adopt them. We definitely did consider the option of getting them adopted locally in Armenia, but pets just aren't really popular there. And really we had to beg and plead with a lot of people. So when we finally found a shelter for them, I was so relieved and I just thought, they're safe now. It was really heartwarming when we took the puppies to the shelter, and you could tell that they had never played before. They had no idea what the other dogs were doing. I was so happy we'd found them a place to stay.
Oh, he's shy.
But as soon as we got back to the van, I started crying because I missed them already. Little did I know, this wasn't the end. Several weeks later, unfortunately, the smallest, weakest of the puppies didn't make it. I was devastated to learn that because we'd really bonded with the both of them. Thankfully, a short while later, we actually got in contact with some friends. And they said they were very interested in adopting the dog.
Honestly, this has been one of the most complicated and expensive things we've ever done.
I had to wait 6 months in the end, but I finally went back to Armenia to pick up Bowie. Surprisingly, he came running into the room to see me, all excitement. I couldn't believe how much he'd grown for those first few months of his life. And I knew that he still had a lot of growing to do because he's an Armenian sheepdog.
What are you doing?
But it was just wonderful to be able to see him again. When I finally came to take him from the shelter and I put him on the lead, he didn't know what to do. He didn't like it, so he was quite mischievous but shy. The journey to the UK was not easy for Bowie. He didn't know what to do, but there really was no other way.
Hi! Hello! How are you? Are you okay?
When I got him back to the UK and he met all these new people, he went and hid under my legs because he was so shy. But the look of happiness on their faces when they finally met him, it was really lovely. Bowie was still very tired, maybe a little bit stressed out by the journey he'd had.
I think he still thinks he's a really small puppy, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he does.
We took him on a walk, and I realised at this point that he'd never seen grass before. He was kind of scared and curious to walk on this grass. I was confident that his adoptive parents would love him and take good care of him. They had this huge field space for him to run around in, so it was absolutely perfect. The first night that he spent at their house was a little bit messy, and they had to do a lot of dog training lessons for him. So it was difficult. He was very shy, he liked to hide a lot. But he had to spend a lot of time with his new family. They spoiled him with a lot of treats and a lot of cuddles. But it was also kind of respecting his boundaries and what he wanted and not trying to force anything on him. As well as meeting his new family, Bowie was also introduced to his new brother, a tiny little dog named Murphy. Couldn't be more different in size and personality. Bowie was quite curious, but maybe a little bit scared.
Murphy, wait.
And Murphy had this real attitude of like, how dare you bring another dog into my home?
That's what it is.
So the complete contrast between their two personalities when they met was hilarious. It definitely took a few months for him to fully come out of his shell. He started to become more of his happy, goofy self. And he'd start jumping into bed with them at night, even though he's absolutely huge. And, you know, just being really spoiled.
Good boy.
I don't think I'd ever seen him as happy as when he was on the beach. He was rolling around and digging in the sand and playing in the waves.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
He's now living just 10 minutes up the road from me, and I get to be a dog auntie. I like to run around with him, and he likes to chase me. Although it was one of the most difficult things I've ever done, bringing him back to the UK.
Yay, good boy.
It just makes me feel really fulfilled and happy knowing what a difference I made to just one animal's life. He went from being this shy, sweet little puppy to this big, goofy, silly dog.